Right, everyone. In this lesson, we will be covering lesson 6 in booklet 8. This lesson is called equivalent fractions. So, in this lesson, we're not going to be adding or subtracting any fractions like we have been in the previous lesson. Instead, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working with one single fraction. Now, the idea is, and I've mentioned this briefly before, that a fraction can be written in many different ways. For example, if you take a look at the images of pizza, you can see that all three images are the exact same. No matter how you look at it, we have a pizza that is half full, half empty. Now, we could call that 1/2, or we could call that 2/4, or 4/8. All three of these fractions can be used to describe half a pizza, and they all mean the exact same thing. That being said, some fractions are better written than others. Although all three of these mean the same thing, we often say that the fraction with the smallest denominator is the lowest equivalent form, or the simplest form, as I will often call it. You always want your answer to be in simplest form. So after this lesson, I want you to get in the habit of checking your final answers because your final answers will often be a single fraction. Check your final answer and make sure that it is in simplest or lowest possible form, because if it's not, you might consistently be losing a small amount of marks. Now, for this lesson, make sure that you have your factor chart up. This is a chart that I have attached both at the end of your booklet, and you probably got a second copy just by itself on the side. You can write on this, draw on it, circle on it, and I recommend you do so. And if this page ever gets too busy and you want a fresh one, just let me know and I can get you a new copy. That being said, the factor chart is essential for this lesson. It will help you a lot, so please make sure that you have it next to you for this lesson. So, the idea is that you will have a fraction such as 15/20, and you will need to reduce it to its lowest equivalent form. And step one is actually to jump right to the factor chart. You're going to go to the factor chart and you're going to look for two different numbers. That is 15 and 20. So jumping over to the factor chart, here is 15, here is 20. And what you're going to do is you're going to look below both of these headings and you are going to find the largest number that they have in common. We call these all of their factors. So I could say you might want to find the largest factor that 15 and 20 have in common. So let's take a look. There are a couple things that 15 and 20 have in common. They both have a 1 and they both have a 5. Right? I think those are the only numbers that they have in common. Now, we only care about the largest one, which is 5. Okay? So, what does that mean? We call this the greatest common factor. Greatest meaning largest, common being they both have it, and factor is the numbers that we're finding. So the greatest common factor between 15 and 20 is 5. That is GCF for short. So what you're going to do is you are going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by the GCF. So our fraction was 15 over 20. What you're going to do is you're going to divide the top number by 5, which you're allowed to do as long as you also divide the bottom number by 5. Luckily, both of these will work out nicely. 15 divided by 5 is equal to 3, and 20 divided by 5 is equal to 4. As long as you've picked the largest factor that they have in common, what you'll be left with is simplest form, which in this case is 3 over 4. This will take a couple of tries, so let's do that 4 more times. If you're feeling confident with this, try these questions on your own and then compare them to my answer to make sure that they're the same. But the next fraction is 6 over 18. So step 1, we're going to visit our factor chart, and we are going to find the largest numbers, the largest factor that 6 and 18 have in common. So let's get rid of our old work. Let's find the numbers 6, which is over here, and 18, which is over here, and let's compare what they have in common. They both have a 1, they both have a 3, and they both have a 6. So it's great that they have all of these numbers in common, but really the only one that we care about is the 6, the largest factor that they have in common. So in this situation, we say that the GCF is equal to 6. So we're going to take 6 over 18. We're going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by 6. And here's a trick. If you don't want to use your calculator, you can actually use your factor chart to help you with this division. Let me show you what I mean. So here in the 6 column, I can tell you that 6 divided by 6 is going to be 1. Whatever the partner of the number, the factor that we used is going to be the result. So this tells me that 6 divided by 6 is equal to 1. Same thing down here. If I want 18 divided by 6, all I need to do is look at the partner of the number I'm dividing by, and that's going to give me the answer, which is 3. Now, this is a nice little shortcut that will save you time, but you can also just use your calculator if you want to get 1 over 3 as your lowest equivalent form. Let's try that with the next problem. So we have 12 over 3. We need to find the simplest form. So we go to our factor chart, we look for 12, and we look for 3. 12 is over here, 3 is over here, and the largest number that they have in common is 3. So that means that I take my fraction. Well, let's write the GCF first, sorry. The greatest common factor is 3. So I'm going to take my fraction, which is 12 divided by 3. Doesn't matter that the larger number is on top here. The process is still the same. I divide both the top and the bottom by my GCF. Now 12 divided by 3 is going to give me 4, and 3 divided by 3 is going to give me 1. Now, if you have a fraction where the denominator is 1, then you don't need to write that denominator, right? 4 divided by 1 is just 4. So you can write that as a whole number if you would like. In this next example, we're reducing 12 we're reducing 16 over 18. So let's look for 16. Let's look for 18. Here's 16. Here's 18. And we want the largest number that they have in common, which is going to be, well, they both have a 1. They both have a 2. Is that the largest number they have in common? It is, I believe. The largest number that both of these have in common is 2. So we take our GCF, which is 2, and we're going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by 2. That is hardly a 2. Let's try that again. Now, I'm going to use the factor chart to help me with this division because I don't want to use a calculator. 16 divided by 2. Well, remember, you just need to grab the partner of your pair. 16 divided by 2 is equal to 8. Same thing here. 18 divided by 2 gives you the other half of the 2, which is 9. So 16 divided by 2 is 8. 18 divided by 2 is 9, and that's your simplest possible form. Here I have 21 over 14. Let's start with the GCF. 21 and 14. So here is 21. Here is 14. What do they share in common? They both have a 1 and a 7. So the largest number that they have in common, the GCF, is going to be that 7. So let's write that down. GCF is equal to 7. So we need to divide the top and the bottom by 7. Let's use the factor chart to help us out. Right, 14 divided by 7. Well, just grab the partner to the 7, which is 2. And 21 divided by 7. Grab the partner to the 7, which is 3. So let's bring that over here. 21 divided by 7 gave us 3. 14 divided by 7 gave us 2. So the answer is 3 over 2. That is our simplest possible form. Now, before I give you time to work on the homework, I actually want to solve one of these together. And we're going to solve question F, which is 2 over 7. So let's take a look at 2 over 7, right? If you go to your factor chart, and again, we're just in the worksheet, question F in the following worksheet. 2 and 7, let's go to our factoring worksheet. Let's find 2 and 7 and see what the greatest common factor is. So here is 2, here is 7, and there's not much going on, right? There's not much going on underneath these two categories. The largest number that they have in common is actually just 1. So technically what that means is, well, I would need to take the 2, divide it by 1, and take the 7, divide it by 1. Now, anything divided by 1 is equal to itself. 2 divided by 1 is 2. 7 divided by 1 is 7. So nothing has changed, right? I did all of this work and I end up with the exact same fraction that I started off with. So in the future, if the largest number that they have in common, if the greatest common factor is equal to 1, then you are already in simplest form. Okay, I'm just going to write that down. If the GCF is 1, you are already in simplest form. So if you ever see that, the GCF being 1, you can just stop right where you are. You don't need to go any further in the question. All right, that's about it. As usual, if you have any questions, please let me know and take some time now to work on the Lesson 6 worksheet. Thank you.